Tu Diem and CEO Toan's wedding took place in secret. But why? Weddings are meant to be a celebration, filled with laughter, blessings, and the presence of loved ones. Yet, on that fateful day, there were no crowds, no flowers scattered along the aisle, no applause echoing through the hall. Only two hearts, standing side by side, quietly binding themselves with vows that no one else was allowed to witness. What could have driven them to hide such a sacred moment? Was it fear of judgment? The weight of family opposition? Or was it the cruel shadow of destiny that forced them to protect their fragile love in silence? Behind the smiles they shared in that quiet ceremony lay a storm of sacrifices, secrets, and unspoken pain. Their wedding was not just a union, it was an act of courage, a promise whispered against the world that tried to tear them apart. No one in the city expected it. A man like Toan, the young and successful CEO, could have had the grandest wedding, a celebration lined with flowers, champagne, and 1,000 flashing cameras. Yet when he finally held Tu Diem's hand and called her his wife, there were no guests, no orchestra, no glittering chandeliers, only the quiet walls of a small chapel hidden on the edge of town. Why did they choose secrecy? The answer lay in wounds too deep to heal under the eyes of the world. For months, Toan had battled not just corporate rivals, but his own blood. His mother, the woman who had given him life, could not accept Tu Diem. To her, Tu Diem was a stain on the family name, an unwanted shadow. She used influence and cruelty, whispering into the ears of board members and spreading rumors through society. Every glance Tu Diem felt on the street was heavy with judgment. But the more the world despised her, the more Toan loved her. Each wound she carried became a reason for him to protect her. Each tear she shed became a vow in his heart. He realized that waiting for approval would mean waiting forever, and in that endless wait, he might lose her.
On a rainy afternoon, Toan took Tu Diem's hands in his office, the city lights flickering against the glass behind him. "We don't need the world's blessing," he said, his voice steady. "We only need each other. Will you marry me, quietly, in our own way?" Tu Diem's eyes widened, filled with fear and hope. "But your mother, your family." "I don't care," he interrupted gently. "I would rather be disowned than live a life without you. Love is not a sin, Tu Diem. It never was." And so, under the watch of only a priest and two trusted friends, they exchanged vows in whispers instead of shouts. She wore a simple white dress borrowed from a friend. He wore a black suit without a tie. There was no orchestra, only the sound of rain tapping against the chapel windows. But when Toan placed the ring on her finger, Tu Diem felt richer than any queen. They walked out into the world as husband and wife, carrying no witnesses but the truth in their eyes. And though they knew storms awaited them, the wrath of his mother, the judgment of society, they also knew they had something greater than approval, a love brave enough to survive in silence and strong enough to shine even in the shadows. In the end, that was why they married in secret, not out of shame, but out of defiance. Their wedding was not a retreat from the world, it was a promise to face it together. For a few days after the secret wedding, Tu Diem and Toan lived as if wrapped inside a fragile dream. They returned to ordinary routines, pretending nothing had changed. Yet every glance they shared carried the weight of their vows. Every touch reminded them they now belonged to one another. But secrets never remain buried for long. One evening, Toan returned home to find his mother waiting in the living room. her expression carved from stone. On the coffee table lay a photographed grainy, yet unmistakable love Toan and Diem leaving the small chapel together. "So it's true," she said, her voice shaking with both rage and disbelief. "You married her behind my back." Toan's chest tightened, but he did not flinch. "Yes, I did, because you left me no choice. You would rather see me miserable than let me love freely." His mother's eyes burned. "Miserable? Do you think misery is marrying someone beneath you? Do you think disgrace is happiness? You have destroyed your name, your company, your future, all for a girl who has nothing." Diem, standing behind him, lowered her gaze. Her lips trembled, but this time she did not remain silent. Stepping forward, she bowed politely, then lifted her eyes to meet the older woman's glare. "Madam," she said softly, "I know I am not the woman you wanted for your son. I have no wealth, no grand family, but I never wanted his fortune. I only wanted to protect the life he almost lost. I love him not as a CEO, but as a man, and I will endure whatever hatred you give me, as long as he believes in me." The matriarch's hand slammed against the table. "You dare speak of love in my house? You will not last here. I will see to it myself." Toan caught Diem's hand, lifting it openly before his mother. "You may hate me. You may cut me off, but nothing you do will erase this marriage. I am her husband now. Nothing will change that." The room shook with silence, the storm of three hearts colliding: pride, defiance, and quiet resilience. For the first time, Diem did not hide behind Toan's shadow. She stood at his side, fragile but unyielding. His mother turned away, her voice cold as ice. "Very well. If you have chosen this path, Toan, then you are no longer my son." The words cut deeper than any blade, but Toan only tightened his grip onto Diem's hand. He whispered to her as they left the room, "We will build our own family, even if it's only the two of us." Outside, the night air was sharp, but for Diem, it carried a strange sweetness. For the first time, she felt what it meant to be claimed, defended, and chosen not in secret, but openly, even against the world. The war with Toan's mother had only begun, but Diem's heart whispered a quiet truth. Love might not protect them from pain, but it would give them the courage to endure it together. The secret wedding of Toan and Diem was meant to be a moment of pure joy. Yet their hearts carried the weight of uncertainty. After the vows were whispered and the rings slipped onto their trembling fingers, they held each other close, savoring the intimacy of a love that had defied storms. For a few fleeting days, life seemed peaceful. They lived quietly in a small countryside villa, away from the eyes of the city and the cruel whispers of society. Toan cooked for Diem, something no one had ever imagined a powerful CEO would do. Diem tended the garden, her laughter returning slowly, like sunshine after weeks of rain. Together, they built a fragile world filled with tenderness and hope. But reality did not stay silent for long. Rumors began to spread in the business world, whispers of the CEO hiding something, of a mysterious woman by his side. Toan's mother, sharp and relentless, felt her worst fears confirmed. She stormed into their peaceful haven, her voice cold and her eyes blazing with disapproval. "This marriage is a mistake," she declared, staring at Diem with disdain. "Toan, you are blind. She will ruin you, your company, your reputation. Love is weakness, and you cannot afford weakness." Toan stood tall, his arm protectively around Diem. For the first time, he did not flinch before his mother's authority. His voice was steady, but his heart ached. "Mother, love is not weakness. What weakens a man is living without truth, without someone who believes in him. Diem is my strength. Whether you accept it or not, she is my wife." Diem's eyes filled with tears, not of fear, but of pride. Yet deep inside, she knew the battle was far from over. Their love had survived secrets, pain, and cruelty, but would it withstand the relentless storm of family betrayal and public judgment? Their secret wedding had bound them as one, but it had also set them on a path where every choice could either protect their love or destroy it forever. The story of Toan and Diem carries with it a powerful lesson about love, courage, and the price of staying true to one's heart. Their secret wedding was not only an act of romance but also an act of defiance against a world that sought to tear them apart. It shows us that love, when genuine, is worth protecting even when the path is dangerous and uncertain.
One of the most important lessons we learn here is that love is never a sin. Too often, society, tradition, or even family can turn love into something that feels forbidden or shameful. Yet Toan and Diem remind us that love, in its purest form, is not about defiance for the sake of rebellion. It is about the courage to stand by someone who gives your life meaning. Another lesson lies in the courage of choice. Toan, a man of great power and responsibility, had to decide between his mother's expectations and the truth of his heart. By choosing Diem, he showed that success and wealth mean little if one must sacrifice love and integrity to maintain them. Diem, on the other hand, taught us resilience. Even after suffering rejection, betrayal, and fear, she did not allow bitterness to consume her. Her willingness to love again, even secretly, shows the quiet strength of a pure heart. Finally, their story reminds us that love does not guarantee an easy road. In fact, the deeper the love, the greater the trials. But it is precisely in facing those trials that love becomes unshakable. Toan and Diem's secret wedding was not the end of their struggles, but it symbolized hope, the belief that together they could endure any storm. The lesson is simple, yet timeless. True love may be tested by cruelty, pride, and fear, but when two hearts choose to walk together with courage and faith, no plot, no betrayal, and no opposition can destroy what is meant to be.